to our very first broadcast of Power Tips. My name is Dawn Scott, and I'm one of the Family Engagement Specialists with the Family School Partnership Program. And we're so thrilled and excited to offer you these brief tips and these strategies to help support your work in the field and to engage our families year-round. And we have numerous resources to share, not only resources that we have gathered from our schools and districts here in Georgia, but also other states who are implementing this important work in the field of parent and family engagement. So feel free to share these videos and use it as another source of technical assistance to your program's faculty and staff. So let's get started. As reflected in the ESSA law for building staff capacity, in short, the law specifies the importance of training all staff with the assistance of parents in how to reach out to, communicate with, work with parents as equal partners, implement and coordinate parent programs, and build ties between parents and the schools. Parents are in fact our partners, and we need them to ensure the academic success of our students. As a result, our department has embedded the strand of family and community engagement in our Georgia systems of continuous improvement. So this framework essentially is our common language. It is our blueprint. It is an integral part of our work for meaningfully engaging and establishing partnerships between the school staff and families. So as I move forward in the presentation, we're going to briefly highlight our 6 structures here on the right. Of course, they are adopted from the National PTA standards, and they are a part of our work to engage in families. So as we start to look at the how, as we look at staff capacity through the lens of the dual capacity framework, we notice the challenge, according to Dr. Karen Mapp and her team, is that there are a lack of opportunities to really build the capacity for effective partnerships. So she stresses that teachers really want to engage and work with their parents, however, they really don't know how. They really don't have the tools or the training necessary in order to establish these effective partnerships. And she mentions also that it has to go beyond these random acts and these fundraisers and bake sales and other things that we do just to involve parents, but we want to engage them. And also on that notion is having more than the twice per year opportunities where it's like a get them in, get them out parent-teacher conference, where everything is kind of so rushed and it really doesn't have an opportunity for parents and teachers to talk together. Now, as we dive into our power tips, let's take a look at the checklist. So please note you are welcome to use either our Georgia Department of Education checklist or a district developed checklist, as long as you remember to include all the required components. And also remember that districts should be monitoring their schools regardless if you're being monitored by our teams or not. You want to make sure that you're always providing technical assistance and that you have the necessary evidence on file to support the work. And speaking of the work, we have newly revised checklists. They're now available on our website. And based on feedback from our Programs Advisory Council, which are just a few LEAs in the field who's given us suggestions and advice, and also what our team observed during monitoring, we have made some slight changes. But for the most part, it's mostly formatted changes. And also we added a new section for parents of English learners. So this is the front page of the checklist. And here is the back page, including the section Y. So of course you want to make sure that you sign off on it and have the district office person sign off on it and date it as well. So for tips to keep in mind, remember your district should document at least 2 or more options per semester at each Title I school. And for a meaningful process and to encourage active participation, consider training the staff in person or conducting a live interactive online training. Also remember to train all of your staff, your teachers, your specialized instructional support personnel, principals, and other school leaders. And speaking of training staff, as for the delivery method, try to do this as a team. Don't work alone. I mean, ask for either your principal or your assistant principal, counselor, another teacher, or even a parent to help you deliver this information, to serve as a co-presenter. You want to make sure ultimately that you are sending a message that this is a collective work. It's not just a one-person job. We're all in this together. This is our plan on how we're going to engage our families. So we want to make sure that we have that message clear that we want to establish these partnerships. So don't work in it alone. So on that note, let's take a look at a collaborative approach with video clips provided by Camden County on their building staff capacity training.
Bolster our
Their federal
communication with
programs
our
director,
families and
Denise
ensure
Cato,
that
she takes the
information
lead on
being delivered,
providing
which is why I
foundational
wanted to make
information.
this
She
video
gives opening
possible for
remarks.
everyone to
She
see
talks about building
and
staff
understand.
capacity
And
and also gives the
just to
difference
share the
between
process,
what
so
is
many
parent
people are
involvement
involved in
and
the
parent engagement.
community
And then
process
she's
through
followed
different
by the
online
school principal at
surveys.
St. Mary's. And then Ms.
Excerpts
Lee,
from
she's providing information
communication
on
over
the
other
parents'
statements of
preferred
personal
communication
electronic
topics
versions
and how
that
to reach out
prefer
to their families as
newsletters
a
and things
school.
like that.
And then
This is
lastly, Dr.
interesting
Bob
to us.
Norval, their
So we
teaching and
might be
learning
asking you
specialist,
to,
he's
come up
facilitating
with,
the training
one general
itself and
response
kind
to
of
two
walking them through
questions
the entire
from your
process,
group at that
giving
time.
them the practical
And
steps
this
of
time, if you
accessing the
wanted to take
information
away from the
as well as
resource,
some pointers
what would
on
you get
engaging their
out of that
families.
video?
Okay, so let's go back to reference our checklist and focus on the content area. Now, for compliance purposes, please be sure to clearly document the discussed topics for building staff capacity, the coordination of services, and other reasonable support for parents and family members. So as we go out into monitoring, we notice on the documentation sometimes for building staff capacity training, we'll see the agendas, and then as the topic or the agenda item, the only thing it says is building staff capacity. So we're really unsure on how to make sure that all the components, all the content is there. So when you're putting your documentation and you're creating that agenda, make sure it's a detailed agenda. Make sure that your minutes and your PowerPoints and your notes are reflecting all of those topics. Now, you don't have to do all the topics in one setting. You can, but if you don't, let's say you only done some of them, in the fall, you want to go back in the spring and pull that documentation because we're looking at a full 12-month cycle. Okay, so if you don't have it done in the fall, I'm going to ask for you to go get the spring work, and that way we can see the full essence of the law reflected in that you are compliant. So for our next power tip, I would recommend creating a handout to distribute to your staff during the training. Again, using it as evidence and using it as a way to spark meaningful conversations among your participants. So in this effort, let's take a look at Camden County's handout that they use for building staff capacity. So Camden County provides a very intuitive, easy to follow graph, clearly labeling their resources. So in this case, you'll see videos or handouts, and then they also have the purpose. So if you notice, the verbiage in that column is directly tied to the law. So for the first page, if you look at the green text, there are references for building ties between parents and the schools. If you look at the next page, there's references as to how to reach out to, communicate, and work with parents as equal partners. And then here's the same information. If you notice, everything is aligned to the law. And if we look at the last section, the resources are implementing and coordinating parent programs in the navy blue text. And as far as the other columns, they have the video link itself, so teachers can simply just click in there. They have their sharing details. And as I mentioned earlier, they have those discussion questions where teacher can emphasize, they can write down their own response to the question. And I love this last section because the last section is actually a place where the teacher can write one takeaway from the resource. So in other words, they're not just looking at the videos just to look at them or for compliance purposes, but they're actually looking for a way to take away that information and apply it when engaging their families. Going back to Camden's grade level team meetings,
So what
Dr.
purpose does
Bob, as a
communication
group,
between
he's leading
schools
the
and
effort
families
by
have
projecting in
while we
documents so
welcome you to
everyone can
our,
have a
and
visual.
Mr.
And
Bogus,
then
you
he's
said that you have
facilitating
taken
the
care of
They
overall
that,
have,
process
but
as
that
far
one,
as
we don't have
including
to worry about because
information
it'll
and
be there for
tools
the
and
next
resources that
materials.
they need in order
Is
to
there
support their
one that you
work.
want to just
Then
talk?
afterward, they pair off to watch the videos. Then they're brainstorming their ideas, they're asking clarifying questions, and then they're completing their video responses. So this is an effective in-person primary method of building staff capacity. If you want to use this as a secondary method, you can. So for example, you may want to just email this document to your teachers, and as they have time, they can complete it and send it back to you with the discussion questions answered, as well as their one takeaway. We want to thank the Camden County School District for providing this information to us. We thank them for the resources. We thank them for taking the time, showing us their process. They are allowing everyone to use the chart, so feel free to take the information and use it and send it out and customize it and send it out to your faculty and staff. Thank you for watching part 1. In part 2, we're going to look more at the content, at some PowerPoints, as well as another state implementing the work of building staff capacity. So stay tuned.